I wanna plant the seed here. I have an idea. Hey everybody, I'm on another Zoom call, and today I'm actually on a Zoom call with somebody that I've kind of been admiring for quite a while, and that I've been watching these foil videos on my search on how to foil, how does a foil work, what's good for a foil, and we have Devon here from Foil New York. And what really excited me about his videos is like how he has his scientific approach and how he analyzes glide ratios on foils and how to start and how far you can go. And I'm really stoked to have you. Thank you so much, Devon.
Oh, super happy to be here, Mike. Thank you for reaching out.
It's a pleasure. It's a big pleasure. Tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into foiling. And you're on a lake, so you're not an ocean person like we all know these ocean people. But here's a guy that is really doing awesome stuff on a foil on a lake. Tell us about it.
Sure. So I've never foiled in the ocean. I actually grew up in the prairies of Canada where it's extremely cold all winter. And I didn't even really spend much time on lakes. But I'm an engineer and I went to graduate school in the Boston area. And you can't really take an engineer out of you. So when I moved to a lake and I saw someone flying atop the hydrofoil, all I could think of was Marty McFly from Back to the Future 2, who was one of my heroes. And I said, I want to be like that guy. And I got a foil and we just kept going bigger and bigger mast height because we didn't know any different. We wanted to just see how high in the air we could fly. And we did this for 2 or 3 years and had a blast. I didn't know what this sport would become at the time.
Nice. So, and you learned this thing entirely. Did you pull behind the boat or did you start with a dock start, or how did you teach this to yourself on a lake?
On a lake, I have a jet ski, a wave runner, in fact, a Yamaha wave runner. And, the challenge became, could I figure out how to surf behind the wave runner? And as you know, 2 or 3 years ago, the wings were just so small. I had a 700 square centimeter wing that looked the size of a tail wing today. And we couldn't do too much. We had to go super fast. But it was good behind a big surf boat. And when you live on a lake, you have lots of friends. And the only thing better than having a boat is having friends that have a boat. So I benefited from that.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And so you progressed from there to, so you started behind the boat with a rope and then you discovered a dock start.
I did. So I had this tiny wing, the 700 square centimeter wing. And then Slingshot came out with a new wing called the Infinity 84. This was 2 years ago. And it was a couple thousand square centimeters. And I saw someone online pumping a foil. I'd never seen it before. He went around the jet ski, picked up the rope, and the jet ski kept going. So I had to do this. So I got this wing. It arrived. The lake was still frozen. As soon as it thawed, I went out and had to learn how to pump. And I grew up as a competitive ice skater, so I had decent balance. And I skateboard, not nearly to the level you do, but that was enough for me to kind of get the idea of an ollie. And I knew sort of the muscle memory of how I would do this. And sure enough, it worked and I was able to pump. And then from there, the wings just got bigger and better. High aspect came out. And next thing you know, we were able to do long pumping distances, letting go of the rope for a minute. And it just progressed from there.
And then when you do this on your lake, are people just like rolling their eyes or jaw dropping like, what the heck is this guy doing? Or do you have a like little community going on by now?
There's about 6 or 7 buddies of mine that we go out fairly often, and I've had them up on foils. But, one of the most common comments I get on the YouTube channel is, I don't believe that doesn't have a motor, right? So no one believes it's possible, right? And I think anyone who's foiled knows it feels impossible when you're doing it. So it is an absolute head turner. If people come out on docks holding out their hand to give me a high five as I foil by, it stops and turns heads on the lake. And what's funny, Mike, is I live in upstate New York, which is 3 hours north of New York City, 3 hours west of Boston, 4 hours south of Montreal. And if you draw 1,000-kilometer radius around me, there's probably 50 million people within half an hour of a lake. And I don't know why everyone isn't on foils on the lake. It is just, I can't think of a more fun way to spend a day.
I think we're just in the beginning, and we are guys like you are doing a tremendous pioneer work for this flat water foiling. and that is something that I am in the magazine want to push more, is the potential, because interestingly enough, I actually see quite a big similarity between SUP and this flat water foiling, even though it's vastly different. But the one thing that we have with flat water foiling is that it is absolutely free from any kind of condition or body of water. You don't need anything for it. And it's kind of like an SUP. You can jump on it wherever you are, whatever conditions are. You can jump on a SUP and paddle and start having that surf feeling. And that's the same with flat water foiling. You do not depend on a wave. You do not depend on wind or anything. And that's why even though it is a little harder to learn than an SUP, I see a huge potential in this. I think this is just the beginning. The industry is definitely lagging behind, because we are all looking towards people like in Hawaii and Australia, where it's all about the downwinder, it's about the waves, the guys are surfing, they start doing backflips and all sorts of moves with the foil, but nobody really looks at the guys pumping on a lake and then actually stealing a wave of a boat, a wake, and use that and then pump themselves back. And I would even go this far that the future, let's talk about the future real quick. And evidently you have some brands that you're in touch with. Do you, in your community, do people see like, hey, there is a future that we can work on and we can build upon?
Yeah, so I think the local area here, foiling is still so new. I think we're probably still years away from it being common. But what has been awesome for me through the YouTube channel and through Facebook groups has just been the outpouring of interest. I think anyone who's foiled is really passionate about it.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone who sees the kind of things I want to do is offering input and ideas. And, one of the coolest things was, the folks at Access have been just amazing. I'm not sponsored or paid by anyone for any of the stuff I do.
Yeah.
But the folks at Access kind of saw my passion and interest and have been super good at saying, this foil would be good for you. Send it to me for a week or two to try it. And then I send it back to them. And, one of the wings I just want to talk about here has been my favorite. And those who've seen the channel will know me talking about it for quite some time.
You're always on that wing.
Yeah, I'm always on this wing. And, I probably put 50 hours in on it last summer. I'm embarrassed to say, I hope my wife doesn't hear me say that, but I put a lot of time in on this wing. And the reason I like it so much is I think it's so different than the wings on the market today. It has such a huge area at 1,700 square centimeters. And I've flown lots of 1,400 square centimeters, but they're just not enough for me at 190 pounds or 86 kilos. And it has a huge wingspan. And because of this high aspect ratio, it has super low drag, so I can glide forever. And I've now convinced myself of that through all the videos and testing I've done. And so for me, I'm excited about where we go from here. Do the wingspans get bigger? Do the aspect ratios get higher? Will I be able to pump even slower? And the reason pumping slower is nice is you can conserve energy and pump even farther. So I don't know where the sport will go, but this thing has been really my highlight for the summer of 2020.
I am sure there is going to be, the industry will start paying attention to this more once we are able to bring a little bit more of the masses to it, because right now it is still kind of a freakish thing. As you say, people are like, what is this? And I think, and here is something that I want to plant the seed here. I have an idea, because I figured the number one difficulty that we have with flat water foiling is the darn dock start. Yes. And I tried it myself. We don't have a lot of opportunities here on Maui, and we don't really need to learn a dock start, but it is not that easy as it looks like. And I'm thinking, if we can find a way to negate a dock start, so everybody can just go into the water already standing on their foil, it would make a huge difference. And we could start with this, and I'm going to go off actually a little bit on this. We could start like competitive pump race foiling on the level of maybe even like a company of Red Bull could be interested. And what I started drawing out and showed some people already is like, I show this. Oh, no, don't go away, please now. I got to come closer. I drew a plan for a ramp with a podium where you can stand on it. And the way this would have to work, of course, because you have a big foil, is the foil would have to hang from upside down. So this you see, oh, this is upside down here, pardon me. So you see how in this picture, this is the foil here, it'll hang through. So this is sadly doesn't work that well here with my background camera. But anyways, we need a platform where you can stand on top. Your foil is hanging through the water, through the platform. You have like some sort of a wheel system where you slide down into the water. And now imagine X Games where you have like a super ramp where the skateboarders come down a ramp that is like 30 meters tall at a speed of like 30 kilometers an hour, shooting into the water like that. That's like it, and it went off like a bomb, and it wouldn't leave my head. I want to build this so bad, but sadly I don't have the property to go build something like this big, because it's something, but anyway, my vision would be 2 guys on a ramp next to each other, like a ski race with a little time measure. They jump out, they slide down, they shoot into the water, they come out, they don't need to pump it first, they're fast enough, there's a buoy in the middle, in counter the direction, they have to go around that buoy and come back across the finish line. And a ramp like this, you could build it off of your dock into the water, or you can make it floating. You could bring this into a stadium where there's a water pool, and you could make this thing as high as you want. And I'm thinking this would be just the absolute coolest thing. And if you're somebody's out there, contact me. I've talked to people about this. This is doable. This is absolutely doable. It's just I can't do it by myself. I tried. I contacted some people. Sadly, things fizzled away. Your thoughts?
I think you're exactly right, and I'll tell you why. Because I dock started for the very first time this summer. And it required me to get a wing that had 2,400 square centimeters of area. It was the Infinity 99 from Slingshot. And it took me about 100 tries on the smaller wing, the Infinity 84. I had to run with it because it didn't have enough low speed lift to get me going. So that made it harder. And I wasn't able to do it. So 100 dock starts in, wasn't able to do it. Got this new wing at 2,400 square centimeters. It took about 10. Then when I got this wing, it has even better low speed lift, and I didn't need to run and jump. I could just jump onto it.
Yeah.
And even still, after I'd say I've tried 500 dock starts in my life in the last 6 months.
That's a lot. That's a lot.
And I've only landed probably now, I land 1 out of every 5. So I'm not a good dock starter. And as a result, you'll see in some of my videos, I have this bungee set up. And the reason I have to do the bungee is it lets me do repeatable tests of the different foils, but it also is a guaranteed way for me to get out of the water when I have to do 20 takes of these different tests. If I had to do 20 takes and I dock started each one, I'd have to do 100 dock starts. I'd be exhausted. I love your idea, Mike. I think that is going to be one of the big breakthroughs, is easier dock starting, because it can't just be former skateboarders or Olympic skateboarders that can do this. It needs to be everybody.
Exactly.
And some people aren't as stupid as me to try 100 times before and unable to do it and keep going.
Exactly. That's that. If we want to have a future in this, then we need to figure out on how we can have, say, I go to a trade show a lot, or once a year, and they have a huge pool where they let people try new sports. That's the whole concept, is bringing the people to the sport. So with something like this, you can put anybody that has a halfway sporty ability can stand on this, and they can glide into the water, and they won't even fall. They just slide into the water, and they immediately have that feeling. And you can now have, it will just open up to the public. You will never, like, I tried the dock starts, and you know what I found the most exhausting about it is climbing out of the water every time. Yeah. You know, there was no ladder. I'm like, I'm pushing myself up, and I started, after 20 times, I'm like, I was done climbing out of the water every time for like doing 3 pumps and then sinking down, or not getting my feet right, and then I'm falling, and it's like over and over and over. With this, like, who needs a dock start? You can build this thing onto a swimming pool. You can make it floating. You can make it on a dock as an extension, and there you are. And could you imagine, like, if you could, like, go into the water, coming in like from 10 meters, 30 feet high, and just shoot out there. The only thing is, and that's probably will take some engineer like you, is what is the entry angle of the foil when it gets into the water. Evidently, it can't be too steep. It's got to be as flat as human possible, but still kind of penetrate. And that is something where, I don't know, maybe you need somebody with a CAD or some sort of a simulation program, or somebody that can test this out. So
the lucky thing that I have is my partner in crime at this is my friend and neighbor, Justin, who's a technology and real genius at coming up with these things. So you know what, Mike, we still have a month before the lake thaws outside my window here.
Yeah.
We'll do some playing around with this and see what we can come up with.
Yeah, that will be, I want to see somebody doing this summer, and
that's a great idea. I think the second issue though, and I run into this all the time, and unfortunately I ran into it in a very disappointing way. Our lake was freezing kind of late December, and it was half frozen, and I was still doing bungees, and I was launched myself and got about 200 meters offshore, and I saw an ice chunk that I tried to avoid, and I wiped out, and I had to swim back. It took me like 15 minutes because, you know, you're in a big heavy wetsuit pushing a foil, and I was sitting out there thinking that all my neighbors are probably looking out the windows like, who's this idiot in the lake? It's freezing. But the second challenge of this is, getting off the dock. But the other one is, once you're out there pumping and stealing wakes and riding them around and you wipe out, I don't like swimming. I don't want to swim 200 meters after wiping. That's the second challenge we got to solve.
Yeah, well, you know, I guess that is, I find that that's a tough cookie, because if you wipe out, you wipe out. And if you have you need an initial energy push.
Yes.
To get up flying, and I can't see how you could get that like particularly not on like on pump foil boards. They don't even have to have a volume. I mean, like essentially you could put a piece of plywood, you could attach a foil on a piece of plywood.
This is mine. This is my 10.5 liter, so it's not even 11 liters, right? And I love this thing because it's so small. So you're right, but this thing sinks in the water. You know,
this is in like where I live. This is completely useless. You know, you could maybe use this. Like I know kiteboards have volumes like this, or even less, because they're like wakeboards. But once you're down, you're down. You're not gonna. You're never gonna. You're not gonna pedal yourself off. Even like. So people are capable with an SUP, and there's guys that do downwinders with SUP foiling. And there's guys that can pedal themselves out of the water in flat water with a pedal. It is insanely hard. Yeah,
I tried that, and made me appreciate how super those folks are.
But once you fall, you fall. So if you're down, you're down. But at least with a ramp like this, we have like everybody can try, and then you're just gonna have to work on not falling. But I actually feel once you're actually up and pumping, under normal circumstances, it's actually, you can't, unless you lose energy, you can't really fall with it. I mean, like, it's kind of hard to tip over, or like once you and those high aspect foils are so darn stable with the wingspan that, like, I think it's really hard to fall on those things.
You're right. That it's less of a concern. You know, one of the things that we're going to do here and share on YouTube in the months ahead is there's a company called Boost Surf Fin. Have you heard of these guys?
Oh yeah, with the little propellers on it.
Yeah, exactly. So what it is, for maybe some of the viewers that won't know, is it's a surf fin that has a battery and a motor and a propeller built into it.
Yeah.
And you hit a button and it gives you an 8-second burst. So I ordered 2 of those last year, and they're supposed to arrive in July, and it's a Kickstarter, so they're running way behind. But I'm kind of expecting in the next month it's going to arrive. And what I want to do with that is I bought 2 of them. I'm going to put one here and one here, maybe about 10 or 15 centimeters below the base plate, so that when this is under the water like this, it'll generate some thrust that'll maybe get the board to its takeoff speed. And if I can start to get the board lifting off, I can do one big pump to raise those fins out of the water, and then be able to pump with those surf fins above the water, so I don't experience the drag.
You're a genius. My friend here on Maui actually has bought himself an e-foil,
Yeah.
He just couldn't hold his horses anymore, so he bought one of those lift e-foils.
Yeah.
And that brought me to the thing where I was like, you know, those things are so darn heavy.
Yes.
And really, like, I mean, it's a piece of machinery, I tell you. But then I was thinking, like, if somebody invents what you just said, something that you can clip on to an existing foil that has enough thrust to get up, but you don't have to buy the whole, you know, like the whole with the whole battery and all of that. But yours would evidently be just something to once get up and then you're up, not like something that would keep you going for as long as you want, because then we have definitely need the battery.
The dream, sorry to interrupt, Mike, the dream would be a water start to just get you going on the foil. Now, I haven't got good data on this fin. I actually don't think 2 will be enough. Maybe I'll need 4. That if it's 4, that's too many. It's not going to work. So, but I want to play with it. And I think that's kind of the spirit of my YouTube channel is I'm playing with flexible rear wings and all sorts of stuff because I think this sport is so new for lakes, and the requirements of having a really good pumping foil with great low speed lift. It's just something that I don't think a lot of attention has been paid to.
Yes.
So I want to play around and experiment, and maybe this boost surf fin idea is terrible and it doesn't work, but I'll have fun doing it.
But you know, it's one step on the way, because as you said, there is so much still to come, and we're really thankful for actually what you do. Like, I mean, that's really cool. Guys like you is like so valuable for the sport and for the progression of the sport. And I'm definitely want to cover this. I want to keep covering this over the time. So I hope we're going to be able to stay in touch and talk more about this, and maybe have pictures and just follow this, because I truly believe in a few years from now, we'll be looking back to a video like this and say, like, look how far this thing has come. I'm very convinced about this. So I'd like to thank you so much for your time and everything.
You're welcome, Mike. Pleasure meeting you. I look forward to being on this journey with you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And yes, if anybody still listens this long, for this long, please, click the like button. You know how that goes. We'll see you in the next video. Aloha.